natural goodness and why it's healthier than learned goodness or education about goodness. The other day, I was walking down a lonely street. I saw a homeless woman. She was sitting in front of a shrine of a saint and was begging for some alms. I might have noticed her earlier too, but today was somehow different. I felt I needed to give her something and I gave her some money out of my heart. I did naturally a good thing and it came out from not from teachings and learnings of compassion and love. It came out from a natural place from within. And I didn't for the first time seek something in the near future for this good deed. The moment itself felt whole. I didn't expect any reward and I didn't expect happiness either. I didn't count my money later on or if the money was being utilized properly. I simply gave and that was the end of it. I gave to myself like a desire being fulfilled for the sake of the desire and without any expectancy. It felt good, of course, but I didn't care if it felt good. But I later thought about the events I had done good to others. I have, of course, done a lot of good things and I like doing good things, helping others in some way or the other. There, I had always been there was always a silent voice that expected something from the goodness, a reward perhaps in afterlife, or maybe somebody in the future would somehow give me a job or help me when I need them the most. And when things became bad for me, when I struggled, I found that I was asking the universe to pay me back for the good deeds. Why do bad things happen to good people? I would ask, but the answer to that is simply this. Good people expect a lot of good by doing good. Our expectations, unfortunately, do not change the reality. There will always be people who will get frustrated and harm others. There will always be people who will not be able to control themselves, and there will always be wicked people in this world, and now more so than ever before. And people are very impatient these days and their energy is so dissipated. I thought about the education of goodness, of how we have been taught to be good and wise, but we have never been taught to be bad and wicked and ignorant. But badness and wickedness and anger and greed keep arising in us, and goodness seems harder to do than these bad things, like lashing out at someone or committing a simple greedy act by not helping others for selfish reasons seems easier than doing a good thing. So, does learning and knowledge of goodness even matter? I ask myself this question genuinely. If it doesn't matter, will I stop teaching it to the children? The answer that came to me was reality doesn't care if you are good or bad because both good and bad are part of nature. It is like the state of water as solid, gaseous, and liquid. All these three states depend on each other. The water in its liquid form flows down, but if it is heated until a threshold, it rises into the air as vapors. We are similar. We have states. Your knowledge of these states doesn't matter. The states themselves matter. The utility of these states matter in a practical manner. Our knowledge perhaps sometimes even confines us to move from one state to another. Goodness in us is also a state where we have reached a certain threshold and have started to evaporate upwards towards the sky. Badness is the liquid form where things go down naturally. Are of course natural. There is no choosing one over the other. It is a state of evolution and nothing else. Most of us have been taught goodness ever since we were children. Our life force was being restricted by every adult we came across. They are always trying to correct children, and sometimes adults assume that the children are too innocent to know anything. Of course, they don't know a lot more than adults, but adults can certainly learn a lot from them. We were constantly being corrected and told how to behave in the society. Simply look at how parents are always teaching children and correcting them. I was observing a family that had invited me to dinner. They had a big house, a very big house, and they had three children. The eldest was 5, the next was 3, and the youngest was 1.5. The mother kept a close watch because it was very chaotic and I understood her pain. She was tired and had to keep up with children's energy. The children were, of course, very energetic, very chaotic, as they usually are in that age. They were going everywhere, fighting, doing this 1 second and then changing to something else, talking and questioning, being loud, sometimes fighting among each other, crying, making a ruckus, and the mother was there in the middle of all the chaos, dealing with every single thing as if it was all so serious, trying to correct them and enforcing strict rules using sometimes languages from a religion which she didn't even believe in. I quietly observed, but later when I could find her alone, I told her to maybe let go correcting her children. I said, "You have a big house. Just put the expensive stuff in the cupboard somewhere and let them do whatever they want. Leave them. Just keep enough watch that they don't hurt themselves." She texted me a few weeks later and told me that the children were calmer. She told me that maybe the restrictions were actually making the children more agitated in the first place. She realized what I am trying to say here, that goodness need not be taught through enforcing rules. In fact, it might even be counterproductive, might even worsen the situation. The children probably found out by themselves that goodness leads us to calmer life. I'm just joking, of course. They are too young to know that, or are they? Knowledge certainly imposes upon the instincts a layer of decision making, which is certainly good, but it doesn't solve the problem of repression. In fact, one might even get confused at some point and repress that which he shouldn't. Make so much restrictions upon oneself, expecting too many rewards, and thus creating a psychological complex. There are certain things one can control and tame, but sometimes one must learn to let go, otherwise, one risks becoming too rigid and serious in life. Life in a forest is wild, it is everywhere. There is a need in each and every one of us to go wild once in a while, to let go of all the restraints we have put on ourselves and be free for once. Yes, it's a need. Psychologists have experimented with repression since Freud had given first glimpse of what repression is, and now they have come to startling conclusions about how man has been hurting himself through his own self-established ideas, how he has been restricting himself maybe a bit too much, and the core cause of this is religious education that puts too much ideals upon one's psyche. The prophets and saints, in my opinion, had arrived to goodness naturally. It had become their state, like the water that evaporates, and what they preached was natural goodness, not fake smiles and a respect given to people who are in power or who have something you desire. Above everything, they have taught us the truth, and the truth is unfortunately all encompassing. It includes both the bad and the good. Goodness that is imposed often becomes a suicidal force. It leads us to untruth and dishonesty. Embrace natural goodness, and goodness will arise in you healthily, and you will act not out of compulsion or expectation, but instead from knowing through personal experience what goodness can actually do for you. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and also do check out my book Everything's Alive, available now on Amazon. Thank you.